Mom, Dad, I humbly suggest you save some money and shop Amazon for back to school. It's for my growth, meaning my body's growing at an alarming rate. And clothes you buy me this year will be very small very soon. Plus, the clothes I love today will be out of style tomorrow. But at least your wallet doesn't have to be my fashion victim if you shop low prices for school at Amazon. Hopefully this is helpful. Amazon. Spend less, smile more.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I am going to be talking about relationship OCD and what it is and how you can deal with it, how you know that that's what it is versus something else. And this is actually proliferating, and I'll also discuss why I think that is happening with a sociological bent, as per usual. Please do subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was about should you choose a therapist that is similar or different to yourself, and why. Okay, so, and by the way, of course, join my Facebook group. It's the blue subscribe button on my Facebook page. This is where a lot of my stuff comes from. Not this one, but so that's not relevant. But like a lot of my stuff, and I engage in there every single day. So, you know, you get more interaction, and it's smart people, and it's only $4.99 a month. Okay, so relationship OCD is this idea that something is wrong with your marriage or your relationship, obviously, given the name. And what it is could be very different. It could be that your partner isn't really into you. It could be that you're not really into your partner. It could be that there is somebody else better for you out there, possibly somebody you were already with. It could be the fact that you are obsessed with a certain ex that your partner has, or the fact that she had prior experiences or he had prior experiences. This one is both. This is both genders that I see this equally. And I talk about retroactive jealousy. I did a post on that, possibly a podcast, who remembers. But anyway, that's like a form of OCD as well, because you have these obsessional, intrusive thoughts about the relationship not being right. Now, that is what distinguishes it from just literally like thinking, is this relationship right? Because you should be thinking, is this relationship right? You know, and especially when you're not married yet, that's normal. If you just meet somebody and you want to get married instantly, that's not healthy. It is healthy to assess, is this person compatible with me? Do we have things in common? I have all these different posts and podcasts about important areas of compatibility, sharing values, like a million different things. And they should all be things that you think about, right? To a greater or lesser degree. However, if you become obsessed and have intrusive thoughts, and you know that you're spending hours a day ruminating and deliberating on something without making a decision one way or the other, that is relationship OCD, right? That is quite different. So you are having thoughts that you can't control. They are impacting your ability to be present and happy in the relationship and as a person in general. And this is what OCD is. You can't control the thought, and you know that it's not rational because thinking about it does not change anything. So for people that want to make a decision, you know, you can make a pros and cons lists, you know, whether or not you explicitly do that or you kind of do it in your head. And you can think like, should I do this or should I not? And then you make a decision. So let's say that your wife isn't the most sexual person in the world. You're thinking whether you should stay with her. You talk to your therapist about it. And you guys say, you know what? I love her. She tries. And you know what? After a while, sex wouldn't be as good with someone else either. She also is the love of my life and she's a good person. So I'm going to stay. Now, is therapy that easy peasy lemon squeezy? Obviously not. But, you know, after a few months, you should have like something that you think you are working to make a decision. It's just like how you would make a decision at work. You know, it's not like your boss says, hey, should we roll out this product? And you're like, you know what? I got to think about it for like 7 to 10 years constantly for 6 hours a day, usually when I'm supposed to be sleeping instead, and then I'll get back to you. No, you make an answer. You come out with an answer based on the the various deliberations that are, relevant to that decision. And it's sometimes a very big wake-up call to people who think about this very dysfunctionally and have relationship OCD, that people actually do make decisions like that in that same way about relationships. They're like, oh yeah, I guess I should stay with this person, or I guess I shouldn't stay with this person. And if you're somebody who tends toward OCD, and more on that in 1 second, but if you're somebody who tends toward OCD in general, you don't make any decisions really based like that. They all feel very fraught, that you go back and forth a lot. And if if this comes in the relationship sphere, thereby relationship OCD, then you're going to feel like there's no possible way that you could have made a decision that easily. And what you really do is you think that all the people that are happy in their relationships it's totally perfect for them. But then you uniquely are in this terrible situation where you can't make a decision because of whatever this variable is that you've come to ruminate about. Whereas in reality, the issue is that you can't make a decision and that you have OCD in general. So OCD and relationship OCD and anxiety, OCD is an anxiety disorder, these are all like kind of the same construct. They just manifest a little bit differently. So it's very, very unlikely that you have relationship OCD, but that you do not have OCD in any other domain. That's almost impossible, right? Because it's just one sphere where this would manifest. It's like if you have depression, you're depressed about your job. You're also depressed about your marriage. You're also depressed about, that it's a rainy day out. You're depressed about where you live. You're depressed about a lot of stuff. It's not just one thing. So point being that even just zooming out and saying, oh yeah, you know what, I'm a very anxious person kind of in general, and that's something I need to work on. And now my relationship is the latest victim to my anxious mentality. It's the latest thing that I obsess about. That can be transformative because then you don't see it like my relationship is the problem. It's like, you're the problem, like your anxiety is the problem. But that's really great news because anxiety and OCD can be treated. And your relationship is unlikely to be, quote, the problem. Even if you should get out of the relationship, the fact that you are unable to make a decision is the problem. This goes back to being raised in a house where you had anxious parents, right? Because it's nature and nurture. And making a decision is very difficult for anxious people. There's really two kinds of anxious people. There's the ones that immediately make a decision and refuse to ever hear anything about it for the rest of their lives and throw their whole soul into the decision because they're so anxious. God forbid they could get any data that suggests that they're wrong, then they feel that they would be consumed with regret and shame. So, for example, that if you have an anxious parent, they parented you in a certain way. Now, maybe research suggests that it wasn't that good the way that they parented you, right? So let's say that they used to use corporal punishment, and now data suggests they shouldn't use corporal punishment. If they're an anxious person, they are too anxious to hear that. If you bring it up, they basically can't even deal with it. And they're like, no, you don't understand. That's how it has to work, and that's how it always worked, and you're fine, and you're fine, and you're fine. They can't hear anything else because if they were to take in that data, they feel that it would destroy them. That's how fragile they feel that their mental health is, not consciously, that's not articulated, but that's inside how fragile they feel. Even the smallest, that wouldn't be a small change, but let's use a different one. There's people who are so anxious, they will not eat anything different. And I talk about picky eating a lot and how it's linked to a bad marriage. Why? It's not whether or not you eat carrots. It's that you don't try anything and you're terrified and you're so easily made uncomfortable. And then you're scared of your own discomfort. That's the problem. So when you're anxious, you're so terrified of making the wrong decision that either you close on the wrong decision fast and then you ruminate about it for the rest of your life, which is some of the people with relationship OCD, they really shouldn't have married their partner. And they knew it. Even at the time, they were like, I'm not really in love with this person, but I'm so anxious, I'm not going to find anybody else. And I want a family. This is men too, by the way, not just women. And I want to be with somebody and I want to be in love and I want this for my life, but I'm not the kind of person who things work out for, so I better close on this. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And men say it, women say it, and it's like the elephant in the room of the relationship. it could be that the other person feels similarly, or it could be not. The other person really was in love and you're the one who's not. So either way, back to the anxious people, either they close on something super, super quick, or they defer making a decision endlessly, so they can't decide what to do, so they do nothing. And of course, that is a decision, but, that's uncomfortable to think about. So they just picture themselves in some sort of endless, like a pre-space, like the decision-making time didn't start yet. We're just going to kick the can down the road. This isn't your real life. It's not like years and years are ticking by while you still date this man because you don't know if you should marry him. Of course, that is happening. But it's almost like you convince yourself that this is somehow a less risky endeavor, than making a decision of either breaking up or staying together. And again, men do this equally as much as women. So how do you address relationship OCD? The same as you would address any OCD. There's imaginal exposure and there's understanding where it came from. So there's exposure therapy, there's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, challenging these beliefs of like what will happen if you make the wrong decision or if you stay or if you go, which are often very catastrophic, irrational beliefs. And then there's insight-oriented therapy where you're like, oh my God, my parents were never in love and they were paralyzed from making a decision and maybe I've just replicated everything, and those kind of epiphany moments are really transformative for people, and they're not uncommon. In therapy, you are supposed to have aha moments, by the way. If you don't, then I don't know, you're not maybe making the best use of therapy or not within a good therapist-client fit or something. But the point being, you can address this thought the same as you would any other thing. And there are decisions that you do make. If you're alive, if you're listening to this podcast, you made a decision to listen to this instead of do something else. You're able to make decisions at work. You're able to make decisions with parenting. It may not be your strongest suit, but you can do it. And so you learn how to execute this decision in the same ways that you've executed other decisions. The decision is either I am going to make peace with this relationship and it truly is good enough. And maybe the reason I don't think it's good enough is because I never think it's good enough because I don't think I'm good enough, which is worth the price of listening to this podcast. That could be your epiphany, because it's like the Groucho Marx quote, you don't want to be part of any club who would have you for a member. There's plenty of people who are like, man, must be something wrong with my wife. Look who she's married to. And it's you, and and of course, women think the same. So there's people like that who literally cannot even fall in love with a person who would love them back because they didn't learn that as a kid. And that's a very sad situation, but that's what it is. It's not the person's fault and it's not the relationship's fault. And then there's also people that have truly outgrown their partner. They're never going to be compatible long term. They met when they were young. They closed on the partner quickly, or maybe not quickly, but either way, they may fight all the time or they may just have no relationship. And plenty of people make decisions that are not like, oh, you got to blow up the whole family. There's people talking to me and their kids are like 16 years old. Well, guess what? Your kid's going to be 18 in 2 years. And yeah, you still have a family then, but it could be a different kind of family, could look different. Or your kid is 1 year old and you're like having a panic attack at the thought of staying in this relationship for 17 more years. There's no right answer. And this is what therapy's for. This is what coaching is for. People can eventually make decisions. But the takeaway from this is if you have relationship OCD, this is often not about your relationship at all. It's about you and how you make decisions and what level of anxiety, spoiler, high, you have. And when you can see this as a larger pattern, it can really, really change the game. Because it turns into that you are uniquely ill-suited for this relationship or something to, man, do I have trouble with fucking decisions? Man, in every regard. I remember I did this about my career years ago. I remember I was 8 years old and I couldn't decide who would be my best friend. People have these kind of thoughts and they're like, I've been fucking doing this in perpetuity. Maybe it's finally time that I change me and like accept myself, learn to even like myself. Let's not, jump the shark with love yourself just yet. Like it's terrifying for somebody who hates themselves, but you could like or, yes, even love or accept yourself. And then the relationship issue, which seems so fraught, it fades into the background, because right now you're defining yourself and your future happiness by one other human being. And it's not even you. It's crazy, right? Why should anybody have that much power over you, whether you love them or you don't love them? So you need to take the power back by working through the relationship OCD in therapy. And that can be very, very, very helpful. Now, this does not mean that I'm telling you that you're just going to decide to stay. And I think I made that clear. You could decide that you're not going to stay. You could decide this person is not right for you. You could decide they are right for you. But either way, what you have to address is this longstanding pattern of being terrified. This goes along with anxiety of somehow making a decision that's irrevocable and destroys everything in this kind of really dramatic, anxious, negative, catastrophic sort of frame that invariably you learned as a kid. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something new out of it, even if you don't have relationship OCD, even if you're just somebody who struggles with any sort of anxiety or decision paralysis. And I will talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.